Hey everybody! So in this video, we're going to be talking about DID and phobias. Now, in case you don't know what a phobia is, it is an intense, irrational fear that is often triggered by a traumatic event. And seeing as DID is traumagenic or created by trauma, and phobias are usually created by trauma, it's really not all that surprising that the two tend to go hand in hand. So let's first talk about what exactly differentiates a typical fear from a phobia. So a typical fear, you run into something that scares you and you react to that in some way, but you can generally calm yourself down. You can rationalize your way out of that situation. You can talk yourself down from the fear. But with a phobia, there is no reasoning with yourself. A prime example, for instance, would be a person who has an intense phobia of high places. If they were to find themselves on a very high place and look down, they will jump from that high place in order to get down because it is the fastest way down, and they're so terrified that they cannot think of anything other than getting away from that high place. Now, not all phobias are quite that intense. You can have a spectrum of how severe the phobia is. From more mild, meaning that, you still have this intense fear that you can't rationalize yourself away from, but it doesn't hinder you to any real degree, to particularly severe, where it hinders your ability to function or live at all. Now, for us, we actually have a number of different phobias between us, or that we all share, that have at times been debilitating and at other times been less severe. A good example is that we all share a phobia of bees and wasps. Now, the thought about why we all share this phobia is that because we were stung at a very young age before our initial split, or at least to our knowledge, we had not yet split at that time, it meant that everyone carries some amount of that phobia because it's something that was already cemented in our psyche before we split. And this phobia has at times been extremely severe. There have been times where, for instance, I have been so terrified of coming into contact with a bee or a wasp that I was legitimately afraid to go outside. I was becoming agoraphobic, meaning fearing leaving what is considered a safe place or a safe person. I was afraid to leave my house because it was summertime and there were bees. It was really bad. Now, with the help of therapy and working really hard on all of that, it has gotten to the point that I can go outside, and even if there are bees out, I will be able to wander around and be okay, but I'm still very, very afraid. If I hear anything that sounds even remotely like buzzing, my entire body will physically twitch away from that sound, to the point that on a few occasions, I have actually injured myself. Now, not everyone in our system suffers from this phobia as intensely as I do. Others have it less severe, but we all share this particular phobia. Another is claustrophobia, fear of small, tight spaces. Now, this is not one that we all have, but some of us do have fairly intense claustrophobia. We do not like to feel trapped. We do not like to feel enclosed. And given the nature of a lot of our trauma, that does make sense, but it can be very debilitating at times. For instance, if I feel pinned, like I cannot move, I will literally feel like I am suffocating to death, even though I can breathe. because my brain is screaming that I'm going to die. And that's the thing about a phobia. Your brain is telling you that you are going to die, that this situation is so horrible that you must do whatever it takes to get away. Which is why when we were about 4 years old, I believe I was the one out at the time, and my cousin, who was bigger than me, pinned me to the ground, and I threw him 10 feet across the yard. Even though I was much smaller, I was so pumped full of adrenaline, I flung him. And this phobia has thankfully also been something that with therapy has gotten better, and I've become better able to deal with this particular phobia. But there are other members of our system who still react extremely badly if anybody makes them feel cornered or trapped in any way. And another that we suffer from that is particularly difficult, and this is not one that I have, but it is one that other members of our system have a very intense fear of, and that is water. When we were very young, we almost drowned several different times. And so while I'm not particularly keen on swimming, some members of our system are absolutely terrified of the water, to the point that they will do anything to get away from it. Scream, flail, fight. They don't want to go anywhere near it. And while I can go swimming and things like that, I do not do well if I am grabbed in the water. I become very afraid and feel like I'm going to drown. So it's not an easy thing to deal with. And another one that varying members of our system suffer from in some degree or another is fear of clowns. Now, I know a lot of people have this particular fear. For me personally, the fear stems not from the clowns themselves, but more from the fact that I can't really see what's going on with their faces because they're hidden behind all that face paint. And it makes me very uncomfortable because being autistic, I have an extremely difficult time reading cues. And with their big baggy clothes and their face paint, I can't read anything off of their intentions, and it makes me feel very unsafe. For some of the littles, they find clowns absolutely terrifying and want absolutely nothing to do with them and will do anything they can to get away from a clown. We do actually have one system member who is agoraphobic. She is completely terrified of leaving her internal room. She does not feel safe unless she's in my presence inside, and it has only been in the last couple of months that she's felt safe even really talking to others or venturing slightly outside of the room with someone that she feels safer with. It's taken a lot of work to help her to work through this particular phobia because it is so intense for her. Now, that's not, of course, an exhaustive list of all the phobias that can possibly exist. There are lots and lots and lots of phobias out there. You can literally have a phobia of pretty much anything. And what a lot of people need to understand about this is that with DID, phobias can affect you differently at different times because of the influence of other system members and how intense that fear is for them. Phobias are not easy, and because they are generally created through trauma, it is not at all surprising that they tend to go hand in hand with DID or other trauma-based disorders. Well, I hope you've all enjoyed this video and that you've learned something new. If you did like this video, please like, subscribe, and don't forget to hit that notification bell. Have a good day, everybody.